Hello, my name's Steve Hayes. I'm with AllSafe Industries, a veteran-owned small business providing technical safety equipment to industry, first responders, and our military. This video series will discuss multi-gas instruments available from AllSafe Industries. The idea here is to provide a brief side-by-side comparison to show you the features and benefits that you might find useful in your next multi-gas instrument. If this video helps you in any way, we would appreciate some help from you. A simple thing you can do is to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It will help more people just like you find this video. An even better thing that you can do is to be our customer. We think you'll appreciate our quick customer service and the attention to detail that you're about to see in this video. We offer multiple brands and we provide service and training. Thank you in advance for whatever you decide to do. Before we begin, let's talk about some basics. First, all the various names that we use to talk about gas detection, or gas meters, or gas instruments, or sniffers. Any sort of device that's going to help to test the air that you're about to breathe or work in to ensure your safety. The basic categories of gas detection are single gas meters, 4 gas meters, and multi-gas meters. A single gas meter is just that. It's designed for one sensor to detect one type of gas or a family of gases like combustible gases or volatile organic compounds. 4 gas meters are by far the most popular choice and utilize 3 or 4 sensors to measure the gases that you would most likely encounter in a confined space. They are oxygen, flammables or combustible gases, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen sulfide. Some manufacturers use a combination CO-H2S sensor to keep the meter small and affordable. You can configure your 4 gas meter for use with other sensors, but these 4 are the most widely used. And finally, multi-gas instruments. These meters use between 4 and 7 sensors, depending on the brand, to detect all the gases simultaneously. It is the most advanced out of the ones that we've discussed and the topic of this video series. Let's begin. First, some background. In the late 1990s, the first multi-gas instrument was introduced by combining a 4 gas meter with a PID sensor, a photoionization detector. I'm referring to the MultiRAE by RAE Systems. Because it was first to market, it quickly became the most popular multi-gas instrument available, and now all manufacturers have a multi-gas instrument in their lineup. So in this video series, we'll use the MultiRAE as the basis for comparison to the other multi-gas instruments that are available from AllSafe Industries. In this video series, we'll discuss the following points for each meter: sensor options, sampling options, power options including runtime, the user interface including the display and the buttons, and the different automatic prompts that you might see when you're using the meter, bump tests and calibration options available, software options on how to configure your meter or download data, sharing options, how would you get those readings from your screen on your meter to a computer screen or a cell phone nearby. And finally, unique features between the 2 different meters that we're going to compare. Let's begin. In this multi-gas comparison video, we'll compare the MultiRAE to the Draeger X-am 8000. We're going to cover several different categories to compare the features of these 2 instruments. So the first thing that we'll talk about are the sensor options. So for the MultiRAE, we have 5 different sensor slots measuring up to 6 different gases. We're able to do that if CO and H2S are in your configuration. We can measure both of those gases with a combo sensor, and that's how we can get to 6 gases on a MultiRAE. We have 25 different sensors that we can choose from, and those include electrochemical sensors like oxygen and toxic sensors, a catalytic bead LEL sensor, a PID sensor, and we have 4 different choices for the PID lamp power that we have in the MultiRAE, and then IR, infrared sensors for both combustible gases and carbon dioxide. On the X-am 8000, we also have 5 sensor slots, but we can measure up to 7 gases on the Draeger, also using combination sensors. So if CO and H2S are two of the gases that you need to measure in your configuration, we can do one sensor there. We can also use a combination IR sensor that would detect both combustible gases and carbon dioxide, giving us that total of 7 different gas readings on screen. We have 35 different sensors that we can choose from with Draeger, and those include electrochemical sensors for oxygen and toxic gases, a catalytic bead LEL sensor, a photoionization detector in a couple of different PID ranges, and then again infrared, either for combustibles only, CO2 only, or that combination combustible gas, CO2 gas, giving us up to the 7 gases. For your sampling options, the MultiRAE can be a diffusion instrument in a MultiRAE Lite. This one has a pump, as you can see. All the other versions of the MultiRAE have the built-in sampling pump, and we can draw from 100 feet away through tubing we would attach to our inlet port. For the Draeger, it's a diffusion and a pumped instrument. And so we would use Draeger's pump cap attached to the front of the meter that would activate the built-in sample draw pump. So this allows this one instrument to be both diffusion and pumped, and when you're running the pump, you can pull through 147 feet of tubing. For your power options, you've got both alkaline battery or rechargeable battery for the MultiRAE, and the rechargeable can run 12 hours, or if you opt for the extended runtime battery, 18 hours of runtime. The X-am 8000 comes with a rechargeable battery, and its charging base has an inductive charger. So just like some people have a cell phone that you just lay on a charging pad, the same is true for the X-am 8000. You just lay it in the cradle and it charges inductively. There's no contact pins that might corrode while you're using the meter. And the runtime on the 8000 varies based on the sensors that you have installed. So if you were doing a 4-gas plus PID, you're looking at about 17 hours of runtime. Of course, if you change your sensor configuration, your runtime could change as well. For the user interface, the MultiRAE weighs 31 ounces, so almost 2 pounds on the MultiRAE. It has a 3-button operation. It has the power button, the Y plus, and the no minus for making menu choices and changing numbers on the screen. You can password protect the menus on the MultiRAE so that only trained individuals can get into the menus and make changes. It's got a monochrome display that we'll see when we power up the meter. And then we can have the instrument prompt us for fresh air calibrations, bump checks, and calibrations. On the Draeger, this weighs 19 ounces. It also has 3 buttons to operate the unit, an OK button, and then an up and down button to make menu selections. We can also password protect the menu on the X-am 8000. It has a full color display, and then we're also going to get some prompts on the instrument. So when I install the pump cap, I'll be prompted to do a pump block to make sure that the pump is working properly. And then I would also get prompts to perform a bump check or a calibration when they become due. Your options for bump checks and calibrations, both instruments can be bump checked or calibrated by using the menus on board the instrument or by using a calibration station. Of course, the AutoRAE 2 for the MultiRAE or the X-Dock for the X-am 8000. Your software options. You have both paid and free options for your MultiRAEs. A paid subscription would allow you to share sensor data to other screens, or the free option for the device configurator software that just configures your instrument, downloads your data, things like that. The X-am 8000 has free configuration software, but for data logging and fleet management, those are paid software subscriptions. For sharing options, you can order a wireless MultiRAE that would have a mesh radio card. That mesh radio card communicates with additional accessories so that you can see sensor readings on another screen. Your X-am 8000 has Bluetooth capability that would allow you to download a free app to your cell phone and see your sensor readings on your phone. And then finally, some of the unique features. There are 3 different versions of MultiRAE to meet different budgets and capabilities. The MultiRAE Lite, like you see here, the regular MultiRAE, and then the MultiRAE Pro, which gives you the ability to read in part per billion range on the PID sensor and have a gamma radiation sensor option. On the XM8000, of course, the dual sampling methods of being both diffusion and pumped, the smart assist feature that's built into the software of the instrument to help you do your confined space measurements, do leak detection from both percent of LEL to percent gas by volume, and then even some benzene specific readings using a separation tube. The MultiRAE has that feature as well, benzene specific readings. So let's go ahead and power up these instruments, take a look and see what the boot up sequence looks like for each. I'll also install this pump module so that you can see how that would work when we're using the instrument in a confined space or if I'm in a situation where I need to draw the sample to me. So I'll press both buttons. You see a 3, 2, 1 countdown on the Draeger. You heard the RAE Systems instrument beep. Now we've heard the XM8000 beep. And they're both going to go through their warm-up sequence. You're about 2 or 3 minutes on a MultiRAE, and for the first minute or so it just says self-test, and then it will start running through all the different sensors that are installed with their different alarm set points. You can see that the Draeger is already doing that. It's showing my oxygen sensor installed and what my alarm set points are. Here's my H2S sensor, giving me the same information, CO sensor. There you can even see it's telling us, hey, that's an electrochemical sensor. There's all my sensors on one screen. And then you can see this little highlighted box up here. This means that the sensors still need some warm-up time. And so we're waiting for the timer to expire and the readings to switch. And once we see numbers and the value that is represented by those numbers in that timer goes away, we know that the meter's up and running. That's part of the reason the MultiRAE has that long warm-up sequence, is the sensors are getting warmed up as it's going through this. The XM8000 has a timer at the top of the screen to let you know that it's still warming up the sensors. So you can see that my timer just went away on the XM8000. And I'm just now getting to my fresh air calibration screen on my MultiRAE. I like to start with a fresh air calibration. You certainly don't have to. You can hit the quit button, which I will do just to save time on this video. And now you can see that I've got all my sensor readings, including the increment that they're reading in, whether it's percent or part per million. And again, you can see that the Draeger is warmed up and ready to go as well. So let's go ahead and just toggle through the different information screens that I'm seeing on my MultiRAE. So again, my main reading screen, I have a pump icon showing me my pumps running. I'm data logging. There's my battery icon. If I hit the arrow button one time, now I have my peak display readings. That's the highest reading for each sensor since the meter's been turned on. If I hit the arrow button again, these are my min readings, my lowest reading since I've had the meter turned on. Hit the button again, these are my short-term exposure limit readings, and you can see it's still calculating those numbers. It needs to run 15 minutes to get this short-term exposure limit calculation completed. Hit the button again, time-weighted average for the toxic sensors. I have my date and my time. I have my temperature readout. RAE Systems back in the day was the first to put a temperature on the instrument because a PID is a glass light bulb inside, so you want the operating temperature of the instrument to be somewhat similar or close to the temperature of the gases that you're going to be measuring. You've got a battery type, my lithium-ion rechargeable battery, what my voltage is now, what it will be when the meter's getting close to shutting down. I've got my current runtime and my previous runtime. I really like this screen. This is my VOC gas status screen. It's reminding me that I'm calibrating my VOC sensor to isobutylene. My measurement gas is set to isobutylene. Therefore, my correction factor is a 1, because any number times 1 is the same number. And then I also have the same for my LEL sensor. My calibration gas is methane. My measurement gas is methane. Therefore, my correction factor is a 1. If I change the correction factor on the instrument through the library, it would remind me that change and give me a more precise reading for whatever my new correction factor is set to. And then the last page here is called Intercommunications Mode. And the MultiRAE is reminding me that data logging and measurement will pause if I enter communication mode. And if I say yes to this, you'll see my choices. I can either communicate to my personal computer or to my RAE 2 calibration station. And so I would use my travel charger and a cable from the charger over to my computer to communicate with a computer, or I can put this on an RAE 2 cal station and then run my bump checks and my calibrations. If I drop down to exit, it's going to take me back to that last screen. And if I hit my arrow button one more time, I'm back to the first page that gives me my gas detection readings on all 5 channels. Over to the XM8000. So the first thing you'll notice is my screen timed out just to help save my battery power. So if I hit any button, you'll see the screen comes back up. I've got my time. I've got my icons that tell me that my bump check is due. I've got my battery readout, and then I've got all my readings here. Now Draeger uses an abbreviation of the current correction factor that's programmed. And so right now my PID sensor is set to isobutylene, and so that's why you see the word IBUT, just reminding me my correction factor set to isobutylene. My LEL sensor for methane, my oxygen sensor, my H2S sensor, and my CO sensor. If I hit this button lined up with this icon for menus, you'll see that I get into my menu screen. It's asking me, do you want to enter the menus? I'm going to hit the button that lines up with the check mark. And here's some of the different things I can do. I can either go right back to my monitoring screen. I can use a confined space assistant to help me do a confined space entry, including telling the instrument how much tubing I've attached. I've got an information screen that would give me some of my different gas sensor information about the meter, gas statistics, intervals, my battery capacity, my capture ranges. There's a lot of different features here. If I want to go back to that main menu, I just go up and then hit the enter button. I have a maintenance screen here. So if I go into maintenance mode, I could run a fresh air test, or I could simply do a signaling test, which is going to trigger my audible, my visual, and my vibration alarms, just like that. And then back to the menu. If I use my up arrow button and then select back, I've got a login screen here where I get to some of the advanced menus. And then this is how I would power the meter down. I can switch off using a menu command, or I can power the meter down by pressing both buttons. Don't want to do that right now because we're still in the video. So I want to show you, by going back to monitoring mode, that if I want to move away from being a diffusion instrument and I want to go into pump mode, the instrument will automatically recognize when you add this pump cap. There's a little magnet in here, so I want to line up that little screw post with the hole in the center of that sensor area. You'll see right away that the pump starts and it's asking me to do a flow test. So that simply means I need to block the inlet of the pump to ensure that the pump is working properly. So I'm going to use my finger to block the inlet. It just acknowledged that it worked, and now my hose and probe are okay. And that's how quick and easy I can go from diffusion mode to pumped mode on an XM8000. So now let's run a quick little function test like we've done in some of the other videos. I am going to attach 12 feet of tubing to both instruments. So this is a lure fitting on the top of the filter for the XM8000. You want to make sure that you get a good snug fit on the filter so that we're not drawing any fresh air in and diluting our sample while we're running our test. And then the same for the MultiRAE. It's a lure fitting on the top of the filter, so we want to make sure when we attach our tubing, we get a good snug fit right there so we're not diluting our gas sample coming out of our confined space, for instance. And then I'm just simply going to use an alcohol wipe and test the response of both instruments. So about 9 seconds for the MultiRAE And now I've got my response on my X-am 8000 as well. Go ahead and take away that alcohol wipe and then watch the response. I was over 300 part per million here, over 400 part per million here. You see them both starting to come down now. I'm still in low alarm here. I'm going to acknowledge this alarm. And so I just dropped under 50 here, and now I've dropped under 50 here. I actually saw the X-am 8000 go a little higher and come down a little faster. They're both right about the same reading, so it's a very similar response on two different PID sensors. But we were about 9-10 seconds before we saw that vapor hit the sensor and start to give us a reading. So very similar response time on both of these instruments. So for more details, I would encourage you to visit the Allsafe Industries website. At the top of the page, you'll click Resources, and then you'll scroll to the Gas Detection Instrument section and click Gas Meter Comparison Chart. Here you'll find information organized by meter type with links for each instrument so that you can also do some price comparisons. Of course, please call us to answer any questions that you might have, if you want to schedule a virtual demonstration or to request a quote. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, call our toll-free number, or fill out a contact form on our website. We're here to serve you, and we would appreciate having you as a customer. Thank you.